Welcome to this week's Wednesday workshop with me, Bruce McLaughlin, your friendly KEC manager. This week we're going to be having a look at the use of Microsoft PowerPoint, something that will be useful for all of you when it comes to making group and individual presentations as part of your assignments. But let's start at the beginning. Let's begin by opening a PowerPoint presentation. So we click on the shortcut, which will obviously be located in different places on your own particular device. But when I click on this, you'll see that what comes up as my default are what are referred to as templates. You can access these by clicking on File and New from Template, or if you just want to start from blank, you simply select New Presentation. But let's use one of these templates. You'll notice that a lot of these are visually very graphic, and therefore for my personal taste they're a little bit too much. I'm going to select something quite simple. I'm going to choose Gallery. I'll double click on that and it will open a new presentation for me. You'll notice it's come up with a single slide, and within the template there are the dialog boxes to show you where you can add text. When you want to add new slides to the presentation, look across here to this little dialog box here, click the little down arrow, and then you can choose which particular slide template you want for your next slide. So there we are. There's our next slide. Maybe I want one that's got 2 boxes on it, so I can click that. In other words, I can choose the slides that best suit what it is that I want to do. But first, a few hints and tips about using PowerPoint in general. First thing to remember is that your PowerPoint slides are there to support you as the presenter. You really want the people in your audience, whether that's your lecturers or your fellow students, to be focused mostly on you and the things that you're saying. So your PowerPoint slides are simply there to support the things that you're saying. They should never be your script and have everything that you want to say on them. If you need to have some notes pages where you've got some additional information, keep those handy, and of course you're able to submit those as part of your overall submission for your assignment. So keep everything really nice and easy for the viewer. So for example, when it comes to the font that you're going to use a font that's sized to 24 or greater. How do we do that? I hear you asking. In this slide, you'll see that I've actually changed this font so it's only font sized 11. And you can see how difficult that would be to read if you were in the audience. So whilst a font size of 12 is fine for your written assignments, for use in PowerPoint it's much too small. So let's work on 2 different ways to change this. The first thing to do is that you need to highlight the text that it is you want to change in size, and then you'll remember that when we looked at Word the other week we had these icons here that helped us to change things that were in the font. We have 2 choices. If we know the size that we want, we can click this little down arrow next to the font size and simply select the size that we want. But let's imagine for a moment that you're not sure what size you want to use. That's where these 2 icons come in really handy. This first one will increase the font size 1 jump at a time, and this second one, if you need it to, will decrease the font size 1 jump at a time. So watch what happens every time I click that. Here we can see the font size is jumping, 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 until we reach a size where we think, okay, that looks quite good. We're going to do a couple more and say, oh no, that's now way too big. So we can reverse that by clicking these two icons. The next thing to think about is to use nice short sentences, or even better, let's use bullet points, because they really add clarity to the things that we're putting onto the screen. But Bruce, I hear you ask, how do we add bullet points to our slides? I'm glad you asked me that. Let's move over to our other screen and have a look. Here we are, we have our slide and we've got our text, and as you can see, it doesn't have the bullet points that we want. Just as we did with the Word, step one is to highlight the things that we want to change, and then you'll remember these little boxes over here that we use when we're looking at Word. This one that creates the bullet points that we're looking for, or if it's appropriate for the slide that you're creating, you might want to use a numbered list, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. For now, I'm going to leave these as bullet points because that's how they're going to fit best into my presentation. Now, remember what I said about your slides being a visual support for you as the speaker. Very clearly, words work well, but pictures are even better than words. Let's have a little look at how we insert a picture into our presentation. Here's our slide without the picture that we want to insert in it, and let's have a look at how we might do that. This is exactly the same, incidentally, if you want to put pictures into Word or indeed into Excel. We move across to one of our other tabs. This one is called Insert. We click on that, and as you can see here, we've got a little icon that says Pictures underneath it. Click the down arrow, and we want to select a picture from File. Now this will be a picture you've already stored somewhere on your laptop. So I'm clicking on that, and this has brought up my desktop because that's where I've saved my picture that I want to insert. And when I double click on the picture, it inserts it into the slide, and I can now, as you can see, it's inserted it dead into the middle, but by clicking and holding my mouse I can remove it around my picture until I find the exact place where I want to put it. I'm pleased with it looking there, so I'm going to accept that as done. You'll notice that as we've been going through this presentation, I've been using what are called animations. Animations are where your bullet points and indeed your picture all arrive into your presentation at the appropriate moment. Now, you may want to have all the text on the screen in one go, but you'll see as we've gone through this that I've been building up to this presentation, inserting my lines one point at a time. So the final part of today's little session, we're going to look at how we actually achieve that animation. Here is my base slide, and at the moment all I've got on it is my text and my picture, but I've got no animations. So I really want to start to bring this slide to life now. You'll notice that there is a tab at the top here that's called Animation. We're going to click on that to open up the animation. Now the first thing that I want to do is open what's called the animation pane. I click on that and it opens a box at the side, which at the moment, as you can see, is completely blank because there's nothing in that slide that has been animated. So let's have a look first at animating my text. Here we are. I'm highlighting all the text that I want to animate, and you'll notice that these little green icons at the side suddenly became highlighted when I showed PowerPoint that I wanted some text. clicking this arrow brings in all sorts of different animations and things that we can do for the text. Now again, some of these for my taste are much too emphatic in the things that they do. You can use these occasionally and sparingly to add real emphasis, but I prefer something much more subtle. I tend to use this one very regularly. It's called fade, and when I click on that, it will add that animation to my sentences. You'll notice that they've all appeared over here in my animation frame, but they've all been given the number 1. That means that they all arrive at the same time. And I don't want them to do that. I want them to come up one at a time. So let's have a look at these little boxes underneath here. And I'm particularly going to look at timing. And you'll see this is set for happening when I click. My options would be with previous or after previous. This is the first one. I want it to happen when I click my mouse. But my second one, I don't want to appear with the previous one. I want that to appear on click. So I change that, and you'll see that's become number 2. Let's just do that for our other points. This one I want to change from with previous to on click. Third one, change from with previous to on click, and the same with my final piece of text. So now I know that each of these is going to come up one at a time, and you can see on the slide it's also helpfully numbered these 1 to 5, so I can see exactly what's going to happen. Let's click on my picture next. Now I want to animate this as well, and I can use the same fade technique to bring this picture in. You'll see now that this picture is going to arrive as piece of animation number 6. But actually I don't want it to do that. I want it to arrive alongside use animation where appropriate. Or maybe pictures are even better than words, because that's the sentence that actually links to it. So I'm looking at my slide, and what I'm going to do with my picture is I want it to appear with previous. So there we are. You'll see it's been given the number 5, and it's going to arrive with this sentence here, use animation where appropriate. But that's not the right one, is it? We want it to be with this one. Pictures are even better than words. So if I move across here and highlight 3, you'll notice there's an arrow here that allows me to move that picture up my slide. And now that picture is going to arrive at number 4 alongside the piece of text that I want it to arrive with. So there we are. That's a very simple and quick whiz through how to add animations to your slide. Just to show you exactly what the finished slide looks like, here we are. I know you can't see what I'm doing, but here I am clicking my mouse once, and my first sentence comes in. I'm clicking it again, my next sentence arrives. Clicking it a third time, and a bit about bullet points arrive. Clicking it a 4th time, and you'll see that both the sentence and the picture have arrived simultaneously. And clicking it a 5th time, and I've got my final bullet point about using animation. Hopefully that's been really useful to you and given you an insight into the use of PowerPoint, both from a what is it supposed to do point of view, as well as a couple of practical tips on really bringing your slides to life. As always, if you've got any other questions, then please don't hesitate to get in contact with me or with anybody in Team KEC. We're always here and delighted to help you. Until next week, keep safe.